evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the regular board meeting of the Vallecitos Water District, December 18th, right? 2024. Appreciate you all being here. Before I begin, the public may listen and or watch live, and all the information is on the website at vwd.org/meetings. And with that, we asked Director Kirschbaum to lead us in the pledge.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Directors, please indicate your attendance. We are all present. Thank you. Do we have any additions to the agenda?
No, sir.
Great. May we have a motion to adopt the agenda for the regular meeting of December 18th, 2024?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Director Hernandez, seconded by Director Boyd-Hodgins. Please vote. Motion passes. Do we have any public speakers?
No, sir.
We do not. And thank you to Jennifer for making this easy for us as a board president. She put all these green letters here so we know how to read. So thank you, Jennifer. So tonight, we have a presentation. Sometimes you don't want to do a presentation because this is a sad one for me, actually. It's a happy, sad one. But I'm going to turn the time over to GM Gumpel for this presentation.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. There's only rare opportunities where I get to have Mr. Pedrazi as a captive audience where he has to listen to me and not respond for a while. But knowing that he'll still get the last word, I'm going to keep my remarks fairly short and hopefully not too sappy. So just really quick, Ed started here, I think, back in 1989. I don't even know if I was in the United States in 1989, but he's been working here for a long time. But with that, he's been in management at Vallecitos Water District since 2012. That's 19 years of leadership here. So he has seen a lot of changes, and he has sculpted a lot of those changes. As a matter of fact, I could attribute a lot of the success and the accolades within our operations department under his leadership, and something that I'm very proud of. So as I was thinking about what to say tonight, I started looking at how I would describe Ed. And one word came to mind. It was really selfless. But I didn't like the word selfless because it has the word self in it. So then last night, because I had insomnia, I started looking at the dictionary, online that is, and you could Google it. I went down a hole, basically, a wormhole. And I found out that a lot of philosophers say that there's no word in the English dictionary that truly describes the opposite of selfless, because human beings by themselves always think of themselves first, so it's just you're less selfish. But that doesn't really describe Ed, because I could say that Ed puts community, the water industry, his staff, and the district first. His family first. Everything he does with passion, and he does it with the intent of putting the needs of the greater good first. And that's truly selfless. So I'm struggling. And as I went on Google and I said, well, give me another word, and there are other words like charitable and other words like that, but it didn't really capture it. So Google actually came back and gave me two recommendations: unselfish, which still has the word self in it, and self-sacrificing, which still has the word self in it. So I don't know if the philosophy books were correct, where the English language doesn't have a word that truly describes it. So instead of saying selfless, we're just going to call it being a Pedrazi. So I take that to heart, and today I'm extremely happy for Ed, and I'm sure his wife Brenda is extremely happy that Ed will finally get to maybe sleep in a little bit and not have two phones by his bed. And I mean, just this week, his dedication, I got texts from Ed and Eric at 2:30 in the morning with stuff going on at the plant. So he's still right to the end, giving 100%, thinking about his staff, thinking about the district all the way. And his last day is Friday at 10:30 on the dot. Got it. So, and he'll probably be working till Friday at 10:30 on the dot. But really quick, Ed's commitment to the industry is basically been recognized. He's taught many students in our industry in Southern California as an adjunct professor. He's been recognized by AWWA for his leadership and won awards. He's won both accolades, both individually, and his operations group has provided him support, and under his leadership has shown that, you know, Vallecitos is what we are today, and one of the reasons is because of Ed's leadership. I just want to thank him. I want to thank him for his mentoring. I want to thank him for his support, especially my first year as general manager. I want to thank him for not being just a great manager, but being a friend. And I'm going to truly miss you, Ed. I wish you the best. I will still text you every now and then just to see if you're awake, you know, maybe at 2 in the morning to tell you Meadowlark is in good shape. Unfortunately, he'll probably respond, and if I do that too much, Brenda knows where I live, so I don't want to bother with that. So I want to congratulate Ed, and I want to also give up to the floor if anybody else wants to, and before I'll obviously hand it over back to the board. But thank you, Ed. Thank you for your service. Thank you for who you are, and you will be missed, but your impact to the district will be felt for many, many years and decades to come. The foundation that you laid here fits our culture and our values, and I want to thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Well, before Ed speaks, is there anybody from staff or anybody that would like to say any comments? You can speak from your seat, or you can come up to the pulpit, either way. If there is any, great. If not, then we'll proceed to a presentation. Yep.
Thanks, Ed.
There we go.
Thank you.
Well, Ed, if you want to come up for the presentation, or would you like to say a few words before? Like I said, I've never been able to get the last word with Ed, so.
Well, I was going to say thank you, Jim Compel, but I'll say thank you, James. Him and I have been friends for the last 20 years, and it's been great working with him. And his leadership as the GM now, I am very confident leaving, knowing that we're in good hands. November 13th, 1989 is when I was hired here. Started as utility worker 1 on the construction crew, making $9.50 an hour. That was a 50-cent raise. And now looking back on it, adjusting for inflation and the amount of hours I work now, I've had a pay cut. Through the years, moving through water operations and then eventually into management, it's certainly not a career like anyone's that you go on your own. I've had so many people here that I could be here all night trying to thank everyone. Every employee here has become my friend over the years, and that's the toughest part for me leaving. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all of the operations staff, a lot of these gentlemen behind me, for they have supported me as much as I've supported them. They've given me the ability to do the things that I've done and accomplished, and they're also the reason why I'm still here. A lot of people would retire before they hit 100% of their pension, but I stuck it out because of their support. James said the word self a lot. I'll add to that and say that this will be self-storage to some of the nice scotch these guys got me. So it's there'll be a lot of that going on. And I don't want to make this meeting any longer than it has to be, because I know there's a lot on the agenda, and the GM has said I could leave after my presentation tonight. So one of the few times ever that I'm not sticking around for the board meeting. But the November 13th, 1989 happened because earlier that year, I proposed to a young woman that I fell in love with, and I wanted to start a family with her. This is gonna be tough. But the job I had, there was no way that I could support my wife or a family. And she's actually the one who said, "Have you ever thought about the water industry?" And she introduced me to her brother-in-law, who eventually became my supervisor when I went into water operations, John Sherwood. And he laid some information on me that said, "Well, you know what? you're not going to get rich working at a water district, but you're going to get 40 hours a week, you're going to get benefits, and more importantly, you're going to get retirement. And man, did that sound good to me, because the job I had was going nowhere. I was working in a construction industry, and it was feast or famine. And I wanted that 40 hours a week. I wanted the benefits. And Vallecitos, when I started, we were at the bottom rung. In San Diego County, we were the Padres. We were just a farm team. Sorry, I know you love the Padres, so do I, but they're a farm team. And that's the way that their seasons go. And I watched it grow, thanks to board members like all of you and Betty Evans over there. Over the years, you improved this district. You had a great business savvy. You made sure that you were doing everything you could to keep the rates low for the customers, but you also made sure that this was a place to come to work, that people would want to stay. And I've been here 35 years, so that's a testament to what the board has done as well as all the employees. So I want to say thank you to all of you, but most importantly, I want to thank my wife, because I would not be here tonight, and I would not have been able to teach or go through all the night school to get all the certifications and my degrees that I have without her support. So if you wouldn't mind, please give it up for my wife.
Thank you, Ed. Don't sit down. Come on over here in the front presentation.
Yeah. So unless the board has any words, or if you guys would like present now, so we could do either, or it's up to the president. So,
Any comments?
Oh, yes.
All right. We'll start over here with Jim.
Yes, Ed, thank you so very much. I've been here 14 years. You've been the head of the whole program. Thanks to you, my son-in-law took your classes, and that was the beginning of his SEER, and now he's over at Vista. So thank you for that.
Does he want his money back?
What's that?
Does he want his money back?
No, I wouldn't let him. He's the smartest thing I ever did. I appreciate all the work you've done, and truly, you will be missed. And quite frankly, I'm sure James will be calling you because of your legacy information. I mean, you're the only one that knows everything about this district, so congratulations. Have a good time.
Thank you. Did you have some?
Well, we knew this day was going to come, and I just want to say thank you. You know, I've been on the board for one term, entering my second, and it was clear when I first joined that you're the heart and soul of this place. So thank you for your service.
Yeah, and like James, I can't find words to describe what you mean to this organization and the community and our customers. You've always put them first. You know, in my personal experience, I found out real quickly an operations manager works 24/7. It ain't no 9-to-5 job. And I want to thank you for all those late night mainline breaks, hit hydrants, treatment plant upsets, you name it, sewer system spills, what have you. I know there have been a few, and you've been there, I think, for just about every one of them. So I want to thank you for being there for the community and for this organization and this board. We truly love you and appreciate you. Thank you, and best wishes in your retirement.
So I'm a new board member, and GM Gumpel was nice enough to invite me to a meeting with the staff shortly after the election. I met Ed that day, and I learned that he was retiring. I also learned that he was sort of the lifeblood of this organization, so I said, I have a facility tour, let's schedule it before he retires. So luckily I was able to do the first half of the facility tour with Ed, and I could tell, just like Tiffany said, I'm new to this board, but I could tell right away and during that tour that he is the lifeblood of this organization. Just the stories that he shared that nobody else knows, that only a few people know, like there was at one of the reservoirs, there was an area that the kids were skateboarding in. So he told a story about how he was there, showed up, the kids didn't stop skateboarding, so a fence was installed. So things like that really just are the lifeblood. And I'm sad to see you go. I have only spent a short amount of time with you, but I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I too went on a tour with Ed. and he was kind enough, he found out quickly that I'm not a very good passenger, and I left my lunch behind one of the tanks at the top of the, but he is actually a very good driver.
I wasn't gonna bring that up.
But when I think of Ed, it's just like everybody has said, it's service with a smile. I mean, he's serving, and he's doing it always with a smile. So that's what I'll always remember about you, Ed, is just service with a smile. And thank you. Truly appreciate all that you've done, and we'll continue, and hope you have a wonderful retirement with your wife and enjoy wherever you're going. And don't go too far, because I know we're going to be doing some type of naming thing up on North Twin Oaks Valley Road pretty soon, so don't go too far.
And before we present, I just want to say one thing. K53 Maverick, you could hang up your hard hat now.
And Alicia and Lisa asked me, what's his K number? And I was like, 1? No. So my employee number, the finance director at the time, when he gave me my employee number my first day, he says, your employee number is 123. That's my number. Yeah. We like him.
How's my employee number 91? I don't know. You can't read it.
Let's do this. Go back there? Yeah, because I've learned there's
It's a
bad
shadow.
spots, yeah. So now we can be blind?
As long as it looks good for the picture.
Oh, my hand.
Brenda, would you mind
She
coming up?
wants to come up and take some pictures.
She's taking a picture of the back of your head.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Come on
If
up.
I have to be up here,
You're the
All of us
reason.
or just the two of them?
you can be part of it, yeah. Sorry, you're making her touch me. Got it. I might say hold on. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys, for coming. Hey, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, though.
Get out of here, Ed. Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here.
Enjoy dinner.
Don't drink and drive. Oh. Well, that was nice. Very, very nice. Moving on. I lost some. That's good. We're all done? Okay. Consent items. Anybody wish to pull an item from the consent calendar? If not, may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Motion by Director Elitharp,
I'll second.
seconded by Director Boyd Hodgins. Please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Moving on to action items. Agenda 2.1, where are we at? Water supply update. Something I always look forward to. And time over to Chris.
Yeah, this is an item that's brought to the board periodically, and Chris will be providing an update of our water supply situation statewide.
You.
Where's Jason when I need him? How do I get it to be like? You'd think I would be better at,
You would think.
but, yeah, I know, it's. That'll work. I'll just cycle through. Yeah. Okay, so I get to go after Ed's presentation, boy, oh boy. Thank you, President Pennock. So the Vallecitos Water District rescinded drought level 1 back, drought watch back on June 5th of 2024. So, just 5% of California's water supply from the state water project is slated to be distributed among the state's farms, municipalities, and residential communities in 2025. So that's a real low amount put forth by the California Department of Water Resources. This is based on their forecast. It's lower than last year's 10%. They expect La Nina this year, punctuated by some extreme storms. So the State Water Project, there's a nice image of it up there. You can see the big points on it for one of the reasons I pointed out later on is Lake Oroville and San Luis Reservoir are the ones that are on that actual route coming south. State Water Project provides water to 29 agencies that serve 27 million Californians, 750,000 acres of farmland and businesses throughout the region. The U.S. Drought Monitor, now why isn't it going to the next one? Oh, gotcha. U.S. Drought Monitor is showing really dry conditions throughout the whole country. I mean, the whole country is looking in the throes of drought. And then additionally, California is starting to show those same patterns once again. Some better news is the North Station Sierra Index. This is where we want to see the snowfall. It's really small, it's really early in the season, but you can see it, it's the blue line there around between December 1st and January 1st. It's showing some good percentages. 128% of average as of December 9th was a few days ago. California's snow water content is also looking pretty good. The overall average is 114% of normal. So there's some good nuggets within some of the darker pictures. Lake Oroville, you can see, is at 56%, San Luis at 64%, Shasta at 61%. I just checked information before this meeting, and they're noting that, Shasta is starting to rise again as from some of these recent storms that have percolated down into that reservoir. And then we're slated to get about 3 different atmospheric rivers coming into the Pacific Northwest. They're hoping they hit Northern California, but at this particular time, it's between now and Christmas Day that those will specifically happen. On the Colorado River, there's negotiations going on at this point. The word is that they're slow, that there's been some impasses in the negotiations, and there was a recent Colorado River Water Users Association meeting just recently. So that still is not resolved at this point. The upper basin precipitation is supposed to be 107%. Lake Mead is at 33% full. Lake Powell is 38% full. So Colorado River still in some trouble. Seasonal temperature outlook, we're predicted to be above normal just by a little bit. And then seasonal precipitation outlook, again, kind of below normal. So, nice warm day out there today. We will see what happens. There's no specific board action with this report requested at this point, and I hope to come back in March and provide some better information on the winter that we have. And if there is any questions, I'll take them right now.
Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. So in the board packet, if you can just kind of help me explain this language a little bit. Just 5% of California's water supply from the State Water Project is slated to be distributed among the state's farms, municipalities, and residential communities. So 5%, I'm not understanding that.
They're really expecting a low percentage of precipitation, so.
Oh, okay, so you're saying 5%, sorry,
Yeah, that's their prediction of what they're gonna be able to provide.
I see.
Is that
Okay.
for Southern, Chris, that's what the state through the judgment provides to Southern California?
That is, the State Water Project believes that that's the amount that they'll be able to provide. There's like an annual amount they expect to be able to to provide, and they're saying, hey, we're only gonna be able to give you 5%.
Oh, okay, so 5% of their normal annual, like
Yes.
their annual?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just say that usually starts out at the beginning of the water year very low.
Very low.
Usually 0 or 5%, and as conditions change, then they periodically update that percentage. Some years it goes all the way to 100. Most years it's somewhere in between. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
More questions?
Any other questions? As noted, this was for information only, and it's good information. Thank you. Much appreciated. Agenda item 2.2, fiscal year 2024 audit and annual comprehensive financial report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So this one will actually be taken by our finance team and also our auditor. So while they prep, as the board knows, we go through an annual audit process. It goes through both multiple finance committee meetings, and it culminates with the final audit that comes to the board. Along with that, there's the annual comprehensive financial report that staff puts together, working with the full finance team. And with that, I can't tap dance any longer before I hand it over, so I'm going to just hand it over to Wes and Jody and Coley from the Poon Group.
And I'll just bring up the presentation. I'm just doing the intro. It's on now. That's good. Good evening, President Pettit, members of the board. This is the fun part of the meeting, I'm sure, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Looking forward to it.
So, the district recently completed our annual audit for the fiscal year 2024. And our auditor, Coley Delaney from the Poon Group, is here to give a presentation. He's going to kind of go over what the auditors do, the scope of their work and that stuff. And then Jody is going to talk about the financial information, all the exciting stuff. So I'm going to pull up the presentation. And,
Thank you for being here in person. I know sometimes we do this virtually, but it's good to see you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it wasn't far. I'm local, so.
Oh, good. Thanks for being here.
all right, maximize this. This. Okay, should be good now.
Then you're gonna run it? Okay. Yeah, so thanks, Wes. As he mentioned, my name is Coley Delaney. I am a partner with the Poon Group and here to do a short presentation. I know you guys have a long agenda tonight, and Jody and I didn't want to overlap on our stuff, so a bunch of stuff got kind of ripped out and will be covered by Jody. So I'll keep my part short. If we could go to the next, or do I have? I don't know if I have control. So there you go. Yeah. So I know Wes mentioned audit scope. That we kind of took that piece out, but it is really just the annual financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2024 is what we audited. And so I'm just really going to talk about some the audit responsibilities. Again, Jody's going to go over some overview of the financial statements and stuff. So I will do some key financial indicators that we always kind of like to do to present to our water districts, and then I'll just go over the audit results. So if we can go to the next slide, please. And then probably the next one there. All right, so these are some kind of standard disclosure items and stuff, some required communications that we're supposed to go over with our clients per government auditing standards. So we'll start with management's responsibilities for these financial statements. So management is responsible for the financial statements. These are management's financial statements. These are the district's financial statements. I know that we provide our opinion on them, but they do not belong to us. So management is also responsible for presenting the financial statements in accordance with U.S. GAAP. They're responsible for adopting sound accounting policies, for establishing and maintaining internal controls over financial reporting and compliance, and for providing the auditors with evidence supporting the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. They're also responsible for the fair presentation of those financial statements that are free from material misstatements, and that's whether due to fraud or error. And management ultimately is responsible for preventing and detecting fraud. Next slide. Right, so as the auditors, we are required to perform the audit in conformity with generally accepted auditing standards. and also government auditing standards, since the district is a special district. We're required to communicate the results of our audit with those charged with governance, which is what I'm doing here today. We're also required to assess the risk of internal control over financial reporting, although I will point out that we do that in order to determine the nature, timing, and extent of our audit procedures to perform. We do not provide an opinion on the district's internal control. However, if we were to notice something that, besides a material weakness or a significant deficiency, but even something that we would just consider a control deficiency or something, we would be required to communicate those items to the board. And I'll get to whether or not we had any of those in just a second. But we are also responsible for determining the fairness of the presentation of the financial statements and rendering our opinion on those financial statements, and then issuing recommendations to management if there are any. Next slide. So again, I mentioned we're going to talk just a few key financial indicators. Again, I'm not going to go over the overview of the actual financial statements, but what we do, I like to put up, we got 4 years trailing here, a couple ratios that we can sort of look at going back to 2021, and we're starting with the district's current ratio, which is current assets over current liabilities. That measures the district's ability to pay their short-term obligations, or those due within 1 year. And so as you can see, the ratio in 2024 dipped a little bit, but the district is still at over 7 times current assets over current liabilities. So that is a very strong position as far as the current ratio is concerned. Next is the capital condition ratio, which shows the ratio of accumulated depreciation to total depreciable assets. And so this basically, this ratio shows you, gives you an idea of how old the district's assets are. And so you can see this year it's at 48%. It's been increasing by about 2% per year, which is actually what we are seeing with all of our water districts. And at 48% are about right in line with the other water districts that we audit. Next is the pension liability to net position ratio. So how much of the district's net position is actually taken up by the net pension liability. We have some places where this ratio is super high. They've had to issue, they've looked at issuing bonds or something to get that liability down. But the district is, as you can see, at 4%. So the net pension liability is not a huge piece of your balance sheet. You will see some changes in that liability over the last few years. That 2 years ago in 2022, the district did actually have a net pension asset, and that was due to really strong returns from CalPERS. Then that ratio did dip back down in 2023, and in 2024 we're still kind of around where the district has been historically after those two CalPERS investment swing years. And lastly is operating margin. So that's essentially operating profit. Do your operating revenues cover your operating expenses? And we do take depreciation and amortization out of this. But again, as you can see, 1.06, so that is a slight increase from last year. You hit a really high operating margin back in 2022, and again, that was related to those. The district actually had pension income that year from CalPERS, and so that's why that number is skewed. But so looking back, 1.06, going back to 2021, 1.07. So we've taken those CalPERS pieces, have kind of smoothed back out, and you're back on operating margin about where you've been several years ago. Next slide, and we'll get to the audit results. So on the district's 2024 financial statements, we issued an unmodified opinion, or what you would refer to as a clean opinion. And so what that means is the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. The significant accounting policies have been consistently applied year over year. Estimates included in the calculation of any of these numbers are reasonable, and the disclosures are properly reflected in those financial statements. For other results, we had no disagreements with management, and we noted no accounting issues where there was a lack of authoritative guidance, and we issued no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal controls over financial reporting or compliance. And with that, that concludes my part of this presentation, and I'll turn it back over to Jody.
Sorry to interrupt, but if I could, I want to let Jody present, then we can do like a team answering of questions at the end, if that's okay with everyone. She's going to present all the financial information, so some questions you may have for him, she may answer during her presentation. So with that, Jody, now let's bring up your presentation. I keep talking and not doing my work here.
Thank you.
Oh, you know what, if I do. Work. We good? You wanna do notes, right?
Okay, I think I'm ready. Okay, good evening, President Pennick and members of the board. Today I will be presenting on the ACFR, or the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2024. Let's see. First, I'd like to thank Alicia Yearman for creating this year's report cover in-house. Thank you to finance staff that have been working diligently, recording transactions to ensure the ACFR is complete, accurate, and fairly presented. And also thank you for the assistance of other Vallecitos departments as well. So basically, the ACFR is organized into three main sections: the introductory, financial, and statistical. Even though the financial statements, which include the notes, are the only items within the report that require an audit, including the introductory and statistical sections provide a more comprehensive financial report and allows users of the report to have the information they need to assess the financial health of the district. Also, in order to receive the GFOA award again, those additional sections are required. So moving on to the financial section. The financial section includes independent auditor's report, management's discussion and analysis, or MD&A, the financial statements, which are the statement of net position or the balance sheet, statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, similar to an income statement, and the statement of cash flows. There are several notes, detailed notes related to the financial statements, and there is some supplementary type of information related to pensions and other post-employment benefits at the end of this section. And so for this presentation, I will be focusing mainly on the MD&A, which basically provides an overview of this year's financial analysis and highlights. Listed here are some comparative financial highlights. On comparing 2024 to 2023, water sales increased by 1.5 million, or 5.4%, and that was due to an adopted rate increase of 6.5%, which was offset by a 2% decrease in water demand during 2024. 2.8 million in capacity fee revenue from development received during 2024 was less than expected due to delayed timing of fees being paid by developers, and was 4 million less than prior year. And capital asset acquisition and construction increased from 13.7 to 17.6 million, or by 28.5% in 2024. This is the bottom portion of the income statement. For 2024, it shows that there was a net income of about $400,000 before capital contributions of about, yes. And the net position increased by 6.2 million after capital contributions of 5.8. Some other items to highlight: the district did not incur additional debt during the year, and the district earned 4.4 million in interest income compared to 2.2 million in the prior year. Capital assets increased by 5.7 million as a result of renewed construction, and other assets increased primarily as a result of a $2.3 million accounts receivable from the city of Vista for reimbursement of the fail-safe Buena Reach project costs. Paying down debt during the current year resulted in a decrease in non-current liabilities of about 1.5 million. And finally, deferred outflows and deferred inflows are basically the postponement of reporting expenses and revenues to future periods. These large decreases to deferred inflows and outflows are pension related and based on actuarial assumptions calculated by CalPERS and are required by GASB 68. The district has three major sources of revenue. 36% of total revenues are water sales, 23% sewer service charges, and 19% ready-to-serve charges. It is also worth noting that property tax revenue increased by approximately $526,000 due to increases in property values and redevelopment agency revenue. And then on the expense side, the large decreases in general administrative, Meadowlark reclamation facility, and collection expenses are primarily due to a lump sum unfunded accrued liability prepayment to CalPERS that was made in the prior year and was not made during 2024, as well as GASB 68 adjustments. The $2.4 million increase at the top in purchase water reflects increases in water costs from the San Diego County Water Authority. Encina disposal expenses in the middle increased as a result of increased operating costs at the Encina Wastewater Authority. The district is billed for operating costs based on the district's ownership percentage of the authority. And then other expenses towards the bottom increased by about $700,000, due in large part to recognizing a $5.6 million loss on investment in Encina Wastewater Authority compared to $3.7 in the prior year. The MD&A also includes some information about restrictions, commitments, and limitations of the district. The district had 4 projects that were contracted for at least the design phase, totaling $11.1 million. The projects are listed here: Meadowlark fail-safe rehabilitation, 16-inch emergency bypass pipeline rehab, Coronado Hills tank interior and exterior refurb, Richland tank exterior refurb. Another major commitment of the district is its long-term debt, which was $66.1 million as of 6/30/2024. The MD&A also includes economic factors that were considered when preparing the 2025 budget, such as slight increases in residential water usage. Large rate increases from the San Diego County Water Authority were built into the budget. Increases in construction and development were assumed, and cost increases related to increasing regulatory compliance were also included. And so that concludes the financial section of the ACFR. The next topic will be the introductory section. The introductory section of the ACFR includes a letter of transmittal, which gives some background information about the district and describes the district as a reporting entity. It also talks about economic conditions and outlook and lists several district awards and accomplishments. It includes the intro. The intro section also includes the GFOA award, certificate, and org chart, a list of principal officials, and the district service area map. Next is the statistical section. This section has 5 areas of focus and includes 16 total tables with 10 years of data in each, and which provides readers with more information that helps with transparency. So the first area of focus is financial trends. which are on tables 1 and 2 of the ACFR on pages 76 and 77. Provides financial performance and well-being information by showing 10 years of net position. Revenue capacity shows information, detailed information about revenues and expenses broken down by source. Debt capacity shows outstanding debt by type and debt service coverage ratio. Demographic and economic information provides assessed valuation, population information, and largest employers. And operating information shows employees by function and capital assets by type. And finally, what's next? Next, finance will be completing a very detailed checklist required by GFOA to apply for the award of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. And with that, staff's recommendation is to consider and accept the 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. Thank you, and we are available for questions.
Great job, Jody.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. And do you have anything to add?
Well, I'd just like to say, reiterate again, that we bring this every year, and it just seems like we get the award every year, we get clean audits every year, and it seems like something that's not like a big deal, but it really is. This is a team effort, and I want to thank Coley and his group, and Jody and her team. Everybody puts in, I mean, this takes us 3-4 months of really hard work and overtime to get this done. And 10 years of information in all these tables, it takes a long time to put this together, and it's a lot of hard work. So they're doing a great job, and I did want to say thank you to all of them.
Thank you. And thank you for pointing it out, because, yeah, hopefully it's not just automatic. I mean, you've raised the bar, but we expect it. But thank you for pointing out that it's not a given each year. Appreciate that. Any comments or questions?
Question.
Yep.
I don't know if I missed it, but did we see in the report the revenue that was received to Vallecitos from our investment portfolio? Was that in there? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, it's okay. Jody mentioned during the presentation, we actually earned $4.4 million this year as compared to 2.2 last year. So
Yes, I remember.
Yep.
Thank Eric Grosset for that. And maybe this is not the time, but in our documents for our amount of money that we put into investments, do we have any room for doing anything a little bit outside of the box?
unfortunately, we're regulated by state code. So every year we look at the investment policy. It's actually in your board packet tonight. So we have our investment advisors look at the policy, best practices, and what other agencies are doing. But like I said, we're limited by state code. So we've really maximized what we can include. We do it by type of investment, by issuer, and it'll say like agencies, for example, which are state or federal, they're AAA rated. We can usually do 100% of our portfolio in agencies. So we have that in our policy. But other things like corporates and things, we're only allowed to do maybe 20% and 10% per issuer. We have a lot of state restrictions. I'm just making up those numbers for those, but that's an example. State code really restricts us on a lot of our investments, so it's difficult.
All right, thank you.
We have to remember safety of principle is our first priority as far as our investments.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question. Jody, you mentioned the capacity fee reduction. I think it was $4 million. And was that you said it was a timing issue? So are we expecting capacity fees, a big chunk coming soon? Or?
Yeah, development really hasn't slowed down. We basically had a blip last year where we had a bunch of people prepay because inflation, they knew the capacity fees would be going up in January, so they came in and paid. We were up to over $6 million last year. Okay. This year it probably would have been more like $4 million or so, but because of the prepayment, and we have more we're expecting to come in the following year. So I actually spoke to development about that, and it was confirmed with Elizabeth.
Thank you.
You have any questions?
That was my question.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for asking my question.
I have a question about the year that we actually had income from CalPERS. Is that typical, like with market fluctuation? So we could expect maybe if market conditions are good again, that we would have that type of, okay.
So I'm shaking my head because I get excited about this topic. I really enjoy our pension benefits, and I've gotten into the detail and done a lot of research on their returns. You'll see a slide during the budget presentations and during our finance committee meetings and things, 20-year historical returns from CalPERS. It's very volatile. It goes up and down and up and down. They're doing much better lately. They had some they made some pretty big mistakes around 2013 or so, and then they kind of revamped their staff. Things are getting better, but they still have a lot of fluctuation. So I think they had like 20% returns in 2021 or 22. That went down. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail, but we lose money if they don't earn at least 6.8%. So they were like 5.2 the year after that because they had huge losses and they went to 5.2. This year, I actually just looked it up, and they're estimating returns to be 9.3%. So our net pension liability will be reduced in 2025. So we'll see another fluctuation there. Those big returns in 21 or 22, I can't remember the year, that's what caused that pension asset that we had for a while, for
Thank
1
you.
year.
And just to add to that, so this way the board has an understanding. So with CalPERS and the actuarial, it's going to change every year. So if you're super funded 1 year, the very next year, based on the returns, you can be completely underfunded. So there's no really such thing as you're paid off. It's not like paying down your mortgage and you get to zero, because it gets the new actuarial comes out every year, every 2 years.
year,
And it's 2 years behind.
So it's usually a year behind.
Okay, a year behind, thank you. So it's always a year behind. So we already kind of know, based on how this market's doing, what next year might be. And so we can kind of plan for it and do prudent planning on it, but you're never going to have it at zero, and it will remain at zero.
And similar stuff happens with GASB 68, and Jody hit on that, because they're a year behind. CalPERS and GFOA have us do some pretty interesting things with GASB 68. We have to actually reverse out our pension expense. So we reverse out what we actually paid this year, and then we have to put in what they estimated they were supposed to be paying based on the actual valuation from CalPERS. They can't do the actual valuations for the pool for all of us. It just would cost too much money. It wouldn't be reasonable. So we have to go back, even though we know what this year's expenses were, and that often results in our net pension liability. Like, we didn't actually have a net pension asset of $4.5 million. We didn't overpay our CalPERS liability. We were actually like $150,000 when we got the report. When it came out the following year, we had a net pension asset of like $150,000. But because of GASB, we have to estimate it based on what they have currently, which is a year old, if that makes sense. So while it looked like we overpaid by 4.5, I was kind of adamant in the presentation last year to say we didn't overpay by 4.5. So that's kind of tricky. So you'll hear a lot about GASB 68 and how that affects us. But you're also going to get to know CalPERS a lot during the budget presentations. We have several slides presenting their returns and how it affects our net pension liability. We've proactively addressed that and saved millions of dollars to the district, and we've done a very good job in doing it. We also have a pension policy that we'll be presenting and explaining to you as well.
Okay, sounds like that's a topic for a totally separate meeting that would maybe be several hours long, so thank you.
Thank you.
I have another question. Thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it, and good job. Could you put the slide back up about revenues, the pie with the revenues? Yes, thank you. So, I know that we have shifted. Can you explain again the property taxes? And then I have a follow-up to that as well.
She's looking at me, so I guess I'll explain it. Property taxes increase this year, actually mainly due to increases in property values. So we may have more customers and increased property values. It's a $500,000 increase, and that would result in our portion of the 1% of what the county collects.
All right, thank you. So, I've said this in many meetings that I think it's really important that we start thinking creatively about alternative sources of revenue. And, I know we're not the only water district that does a presentation like this. So I wonder is if anyone is looking at, maybe what other water districts have in their pies, and maybe if there are ways that we can partner or ask questions and benefit from that knowledge so that we can have a more multicolored pie with different sources of revenue.
Thank you. Any other questions? Just one clarifying question. You said $66 million in long-term debt.
That's correct.
How long-term is that, and how do we pay it back?
So we have a 2015 COPS, which is our biggest source, around $34 million or so, and then we've got the 2021 COPS, which was $28 million. I don't want to pay that off because it's 2.34%, and we'll never get debt like that again. I wish we would have issued $70 million in debt then, because it's as close to free money as you're going to get. Very proud of the district in getting that debt issuance. The other one, the 2015 COPS, if the Fed continues to cut rates, we're now able to refund that because they're refundable every 10 years. So 2025, we'll be looking at refunding, and I'm actually already talking to the financial advisors and seeing if we can save money there by getting a lower rate. It's currently at around 5% on average for that. So it's all fixed. I think we have very small balance on our 2012 loan, which is like $2 million left, maybe $1.6 million. That's a variable rate based on, it used to be LIBOR, now it's SOFR. But even that's, I think, somewhere around 5% with the variable rate. Those are our three sources of debt, and the 2015 COPS was a 30-year issuance, so that would be around 2040 or something, 45 we're going to pay it off. Is it 2035? Or it might only have 20 years left. The 2028 was also a 30-year debt issuance, so that'll go to 2058. But as I mentioned, it's 2.24%.
And we're just paying that off, I mean, is there like a principal interest annual basis type thing?
So we've actually got it sort of a laddered structure. So right now we've got it, so the 2015, we're hitting a lot of the principal because it's 5% and that was structured that way. When we issued the 2028, it's more of an interest on top of it. So we were able to actually issue the 2028 debt. We paid off one debt and our debt payments didn't increase at all. So it was almost like a zero payment on the end. But as the 2015 goes the other way, where it starts paying off more of the, I guess it'd be lower principal, we'll be paying more principal on the 2028, so the chart kind of levels off. I have a debt chart that I showed during the budget presentation. We'll get to that too, and I'm happy to bring that to show you.
And that's pretty typical to keep 60 million on
Yeah, we're
long-term
actually
debt on
pretty,
hand.
we're low in our debt service ratio.
In the
actually.
industry, you're saying, when
Yeah.
you say low?
Especially for an agency that has growth. And then right now, with our investment strategies, we're trying to get, investments well into the 4% or the high 3%. So saving our money and earning, let's say 4% and paying 2.3%, it makes financial sense.
Thank you. Thank you, as always, for the explanation. Any other questions? May I have a motion to accept the 23-24 Annual Comprehensive Report?
So moved.
Moved by Director Ellertharp,
Second.
seconded by Director Kirschbaum. Please vote.
Thank you, Coley.
Yeah, thank you.
All green, thank you. Question, what happens if we didn't accept the comprehensive report?
Then we can't file it, and we don't.
So this is to file, so you need to have a
Yes.
board approval, so we file it. Gotcha. Nope.
And if you didn't accept the audit, I don't know.
Well, thank you, Cole, appreciate it. Have a good night. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to action item 2.3, Association, the Aqua JPIA Fiscal Year 2025 Operating Budget Amendment.
This one's going to be handed over to our dynamic duo of both Denise and Wes. And really, unfortunately, this is our new insurance premiums have went up significantly. There's a pretty long story that goes with it. They know a lot more about it than I do. But essentially, that our past water main breaks and some basically liabilities that created by damage from the water main breaks, that just like similar to your car insurance, if you get a ticket or an accident, it goes up and stays on your record, so to speak. And then there was some rate stabilization funds that were used that kept our rates artificially low. So without stealing too much of the thunder, I'll hand it over to, I think Wes is taking the lead on this one.
Yeah,
So-
so I get to give a less fun presentation now. I think President Penick, you said that, sometimes presentations were sad and you don't want to give them.
Yeah?
This is going to be one of
This
those
is one of those.
presentations, so I apologize.
Insurance is like that, I understand.
All right, so Denise and I get to present on the Aqua JPA budget amendment tonight, even though we're sad to do it. Let me get my slide going. So the agenda for tonight, we're going to go over a little bit of background about the item, and then after that, we'll go into detail about what we've done and how we've approached it. Next, we'll talk about the district's plan going forward, and finally, we'll go over the recommendation for tonight's item. Some background. The district is a member district of the Association of California Water Agencies Joint Powers Insurance Authority, also known as Aqua JPIA. We budgeted $322,000 this year in our fiscal year 2025 budget for general liability and property insurance coverages. And just for clarity, those are two separate coverages. There's general liability and property insurance, but they're budgeted together as one line item in your budget. And unfortunately, the district just received invoices in the amount of $822,241, and it's not a typo, and we thought that can't be right. So we did some work on this. So continuing the discussion, first thing we did was actually to checked the invoice, staff recalculated over and over again, trying to understand, how they got the numbers, what could have happened. We went back and did a historical analysis of insurance costs for the last 5 to 10 years. And then we recalculated the previous 2 years. And after we did all of that, and it turned out to be correct, we actually had a meeting, Denise and I did, with the CFO of Aqua JPIA, to go over some of the terminology and things we didn't understand. She had me in there, she figured we'd speak the same language, so she wanted to. But we met with him, and based on that meeting, we learned that, due to industry volatility and upward pressure on rates, it caused our premiums to go up and exceed our budget for the fiscal year. Our budget, the district historically is budgeted on a 5-year average annual increase. And because our rates have been pretty steady and we haven't had a lot of claims over the last 5-6 years, that's been a fine way of budgeting for this. Unfortunately, the last couple years, our premiums in 2023 and 24 have been artificially low due to timing of claims and utilization of rate stabilization funds. And examples of that were in 2023, we had about $12,000 in claims in total. In 2024, that number jumped up to $432,000.
From 12 to 432?
432,000 from 12,000. Unfortunately, we didn't see that spike in our rates on the invoices because Aqua applied rate stabilization funds of $181,000. So that put us right within range of our normal budget, and we continued to our practice of budgeting on a 5-year annual increase. So just to get an understanding of how they're calculated, we actually, in talking to the, going over the invoices and seeing, and Director Pettit, you're probably familiar with all this stuff I'm going to go into, but the general liability premiums consist of a basic premium and an experience modification factor. The basic premium for us is based on our payroll, on our labor costs, just to compare us to other agencies in the pool, and at a certain rate. The experience modification factor is kind of what it sounds like. It's their experience with us filing claims and how we compare to other agencies in that pool. So looking at the rate increases over the last couple of years and what caused our premiums to go up, in 2024 we had rate increases of 10.3%, and then in 2025, bless you, and in 2025 we had rate increases of 12.5%. Those are big rate increases on their face. You have to remember, though, they're percentages. They're not additive. If you were actually to compare 2023 to 2025, the cumulative rate increase over the last 2 years has been 24%. So those are just the rate increases. Now we get to the bad news, the EMOD increases. So the EMOD increases over the last 2 years, as I mentioned, 2023 to 2024, claims jumped from 12,000 to 432,000, and with that, the EMOD increased 87%. And then from 2024 to 25, our claims actually went up. So to get a little bit more into it, I don't think I do further in the presentation, Aqua does a 3-year average of our claims. So they go back 3 years for that year to get your claims in total. So they roll off after 3 years. But when you get a big claim, it hangs in there for 3 years. So that's what's causing this. So the 432 kind of carried over and then increased to $605,000. So in 2025, our EMOD increased by 30%. And again, these are not additive, these are percentage increases for the year. From 2023, our EMOD was actually 0.59. That's not a percentage, that's the EMOD, it's 0.59. In 2025, it was 1.42. That is a 142% increase in our EMOD over 2 years. That's what's causing these significant rate increases in premiums to the district. And we actually, in talking with the CFO, he said these have been some of the worst years for Aqua as far as claims go. They're actually collecting about $20 million less than they need to pay out in claims, at least that was for 2020. So it's been a really bad time for the industry. So that's all the bad news. Let's see if we can get into a little bit of good news. What are we going to do about it? So our plan, we can't do much about the rates, and main breaks are going to happen. So how are we going to try to handle this? First, we're going to try to manage claims. So by doing that, and we already manage claims, but we're going to make sure we do thorough review of all claims before they're submitted to Aqua JPIA. So we have a chance to look at them, dispute them, have conversations with Aqua before they actually get paid. So we know what's affecting us and we're very aware of it. Next, we're going to be proactive. We'll take proactive action. We'll proactively address leaks and main breaks using our GIS system. And after doing that, we'll actually budget for replacement through our CIP budget. That'll help to fix them quicker and have less claims going forward. Next, we will communicate. We're going to work closely with Aqua JPIA to get updated on information and claims and on rates every April. So we haven't done this in the past. As I mentioned, it's been a 5-year average annual increase, but now we're going to be calling them every April as we prepare our budget and say, what are the rates looking like? What are our claims looking like over the last year? So we know what to budget and so we can budget appropriately. And that actually leads to the next one. There's the budget using the current information from Aqua instead of using our 5-year average increase. And finally, we will compare rates. And this is something everyone should do for their insurance and other things anyway. So we will periodically survey the industry to ensure that we get the best deal for the district. I believe we went out, James and Denise know this better than me, but I believe we went out a couple years ago and confirmed that Aqua's is still very competitive. So we've actually done it pretty recently. That's our action plan for the district. But with that, staff's recommendation is that the board approve the budget increase of $501,000 to allow for payment of the invoices from Aqua JPIA.
And I'd just like to add one thing. So majority of the increases as far as from a liability and damage are due to some of our main breaks in Coronado Hills and also on the Tres Amigos line. The board's already approved the budget and also the contract for a contract to define and replace that line, the Tres Amigos line. The Tres Amigos line, if you may recall from one of our reports from earlier in the year, we've had an average of 1 break a month on that line. So it's one of those the material in that road in that area predates the existence of the district. So just to give you an idea, so we were formed in 1955, or maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe it's 1956 to 58, but it's back there. So way past its useful life. So that project will end up getting rid of one of the major sources of claims from a liability where the water main breaks actually provide damage to people's homes. And then that becomes a liability that goes to Aqua JPIA. The other area is Coronado Hills, where we have line pressure in the excess of 250 to 300 PSI. So when it's a steel line, which is great material, but when it does break, it's breaking with tremendous pressure, which causes tremendous damage. It throws boulders into the air with the water pressure. So we're going to be budgeting, and the board still has to approve it, for a new pressure reducing station to be designed and built, which will knock the pressure down in that area, which will first basically put less pressure on the pipe that causes leaks, and when leaks do occur, they will cause less damage. So those are two, when we look at the review of basically the cause of the claims that really drove up this EMOD, those are the 2 areas and the 2 pipelines that were by far the biggest culprits. And one is actually underway right now. Construction contractors are already on board, and the other one will be budgeted next fiscal year.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have some tough lessons here, right? This is a tough pill to swallow. Some tough lessons, and unfortunately we've sort of learned them the hard way about making sure that we are budgeting appropriately and communicating appropriately. And I'm really glad to hear that you've made those recommendations and are instructing your teams to do that. I think it's also really important to point out another tough lesson, and that is when we continue to put off capital improvements, if we continue to kick the can down the road, it can come back and bite us severely. And this area is really old where these main breaks are happening. I am also glad that we are working towards fixing those and trying to reduce those incidences. I have a question about, it seems like we haven't had a whole lot of claims, and then all of a sudden we have several. And, for my car insurance, for example, I'm a good driver, no claims, but then all of a sudden I have an accident. Sometimes there's some kind of forgiveness. So have we tried negotiating? Have we tried talking to them and say, we haven't had any claims, we haven't had many claims, and then all of a sudden we're just having some real bad luck. Can we negotiate here?
So we did ask them that. We asked them, if we could fix this pipe, improve it, can we not have to pay for the breaks on the pipe? And he said, unfortunately, no. It's a pool, they're nonprofit, so it's, and they're collecting a lot less than they're paying out, so they don't have the ability to do that. One of the ways that they do kind of give us forgiveness, though, is through the Rate Stabilization Fund, and this is something we became a little bit more familiar with through this process. When we don't have claims, they're not spending the money on us. They give us It's our rate stabilization fund that they give us. So if we're below what the rest of the pool is doing, we get these rate stabilization funds. And in 2024, they gave us that break. They said, here's $181,000 because your breaks are higher this year than usual. So we're going to give you, $181,000 of what you've earned as a relief for that. Unfortunately, that exhausted all of our rate stabilization funds that we'd earned up until then. They used the full amount, and now we don't have any left.
And Denise, help me out here. It's a lot of the larger claims came in 2023, some in 2022.
Yeah, so we've, the last year and a half, we've been having an increasing amount of claims, and the claims are a lot of damage. So cars have been totaled, goes through roofs, so we've had quite a bit of damage, yeah.
And those were in 2023
3 and
and 4?
mostly in 2023, yeah. End of 22, because they go October to October,
Is that our policy period is from October to October?
yeah.
And the reason why we didn't see it, kind of per Wes's and Denise's presentation, is because they were using rate stabilization, so we didn't see it in our 2024 rates. But rate stabilization money's gone, so that's kind of the danger of rate stabilization. When that's gone, you're making up the whole amount.
Right.
And we do look at each claim that comes in now, so,
So end of 2022, after October probably.
correct, yes.
Were they large claims?
Yes, we had one of the claims was $262,000 in October of 21 to 22, end of 22.
Right
So-
after the policy renews.
That
So
would
we gotta
be,
carry
that
for
was a
another
large
year.
one, and that was actually, on the same line, it damaged 2 houses, 2 residents on that one, so that actually happened twice. That was the same line with 2 different houses that got damaged twice.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question on the nature of the claims, whether it was size of the claims versus the sheer number of claims, but I think you've answered it. It sounds like it's
Size.
both.
It's more size than number.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
So the total claims you said were like 423,000 for the last or for 24, and our increase was 500,000. So, and I saw on one of the items of action is to kind of review every claim before we submit it. Was that happening before? Or is that kind of like now? Oh gosh, maybe we should not be submitting all these claims if our rates are going to go up that much.
So
I
this
just
is-
started a year and a half ago.
I was actually going to say this is a question for Denise, but unfortunately she's relatively new.
Before me, I think they had some,
So I can answer this. We had an employee that was here just temporarily that no longer works here that put everything to claim no matter how small. Denise has been here for about an hour and a half. She's completely revamped it. But the results of her work will bear fruit, unfortunately, because the way the 3-year rolling
not
averages.
for 3 years.
For another, in 3-4 years.
You gotta stick around.
So, and then with the pipelines that are being replaced and stuff, then a lot of those main culprits, hopefully we don't get new culprits, but at least those main culprits will be eliminated as far as the ability or the likelihood of failure.
And I do look to see what the cost is, what our deductible is, and then I do work with, with our CFO, I work with our general manager, and I try to pay a lot of things in-house so we don't have to go through insurance, but sometimes, with 262,000, we're not paying that in-house, so we have to go and go through insurance. But we do look at that because we do want to lower our rates.
So it's kind of like a calculated decision every time?
Yes,
Okay.
every time.
Okay,
And
perfect,
Director
thank you.
Kirschbaum, the rates would have gone up even if we had no claims.
Yeah.
It would have gone up by that 24% just because the base rate went up
Okay.
for everybody.
Good point, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yep.
Can we pay this sort of in a payment plan?
No. It has to be paid by December 30th,
Okay.
right?
On that, is it an auditable premium, or is that what the renewal premium is?
So they were nice enough to actually show us their audits. So during the meeting, he was like, I'll show you my screen, here are our audits, and he actually went through what their independent auditor had done and the information he provided to them. That's where we got some of the information on the payouts versus what they were collecting and things. So If you're asking if they're audited, then the answer is yes.
Well, on that premium, we're paying an extra 500K. Are we paying 500K for our period 23 to 24? Are we paying an extra 500 for future premiums from 24 to 25?
The 500,000 is for
24, 25.
25.
So that's what our increase is for our new premium. So
Right.
so our premium's not auditable, meaning we had a bad year, we audited your account, you had so many claims, we're going to charge you 500K in arrears.
No.
It's going forward, that's the increase in our premium going forward. Okay. I had a hard question for Denise.
No, we discussed that already.
I did not. So no, you answered my question, a lot of things. Just, I love the action plan, the district plan going forward. A couple suggestions, if I may, I don't know if this is the place. One, that's why I asked about that. If we had a large loss in October of '22 and our premium renews in October of '22, we can request from them, just to help with our books, can we change our policy period to like December to December or January to January? Because then that policy, that large loss would fall off in October of '25, and our policy will renew in January of '26 instead. So we could change our policy period to take advantage of that large loss, one. And I know you're doing this, you mentioned we might have a lower deductible. We're not gonna submit everything, we have a $2,000 deductible. One good way to save on insurance, auto, home, and commercial, is just have a lot higher deductible. I mean, I would say even as high as 10,000. We're not gonna submit anything under 10,000 anyways. And if we have increase our deductibles from 2,000 to 10,000, we should be able to save quite a bit on our premiums, I'm guessing. So that would be one recommendation. And then the audit, and your shopping, and you're doing everything. Just, it's a little confusing. Pools work a little differently, because E-mods in the industry only apply usually to workers' comp.
Right.
There's no such thing as an E-mod for
And here
GL
they
or
do
property
it for
damage.
property, liability, and workers' comp.
Yeah, there is no E-mod for general liability and property
Yeah.
in industry standards, but with a pool, it operates a little different. So I think they're calling it an E-mod. It just means we have a lot more claims going out than premiums coming in.
Yeah,
So,
unfortunately.
no, thank you. Great presentation, good information, and yeah, it's a $500,000 bill to swallow. Any other questions, comments? If not, may I have a motion to, where's it at? Approve a budget increase in the amount of $501,000 for payment of the invoices from Aqua JPIA.
Move to approve.
Motion by Director Hernandez,
Second.
seconded by Director Boyd Hodgins. Everybody, vote. Five green yeses, motion passes. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
before I leave, I wanted to just mention, we forgot to bring in the financing corporation. We forgot to open that meeting.
No, we're going to do that at the end of this meeting.
Oh, okay, we
Yeah.
usually do it right after the audit.
Yeah, I know, we're gonna do it right at the end of this meeting, so
Okay.
it's still gonna happen.
Okay, just want to make sure.
That's what you want to do? Okay. Yep. Thank you so much. Action item, we're moving along pretty quickly here, I hope. 2.4, right?
Yes, so while they get it keyed up, Mr. President, we'll talk, that we're switching math from accounting math and bills to engineering math. So you'll still see numbers for those of you who like your numbers, but this now will be associated with assets or projects. So the first project being presented by our senior engineer, Ryan Morgan, will be for the Coronado Hills and Richland Tank refurbishment project. With that, I'll hand it over to Ryan.
Thank you, General Manager Gumpel. Just bear with me. Okay. All right. Anytime I come before the board with a project acceptance, it's always an exciting moment because these projects take years to not just plan and design, but also go to construction. So tonight's item for the project acceptance for Coronado Hills Tank interior and exterior refurbishment and the Richland 1 tank exterior refurbishment project. Just to give you a brief background, Coronado Hills Tank is illustrated on the left on your exhibit. It's a 2.5 million gallon steel reservoir. It was constructed in 1981. It serves district pressure zone 1530. It was last refurbished in 2004. Per a 2022 inspection, the interior and exterior coating systems were failing. Project design included interior and exterior full refurbishment, blast and coat, structural rafter replacement, and safety improvements.
Similarly, Richland 1 tank, illustrated on the right of your exhibit, is a 1.3 million gallon steel reservoir. It was constructed in 1961, serves pressure zone 920. It was last refurbished, exterior coated was refurbished in 1994, and the interior was refurbished in 2013. Per the same 2022 inspection, the exterior coating systems were failing, and it was found that the interior coating systems just needed some spot repairs. So project design included that interior spot repair and a full exterior refurbishment. The board is familiar with this project, acting during past project milestones dating back to November 2022, with the professional services agreement award to Harper and Associates Engineering for design engineering services. It was awarded on time and materials not to exceed $21,290. This was for both projects. Final design was completed in January of 2023. Staff combined the 2 tank refurbishments into one bid package to attract competitive bids. Staff received competitive bids, and on September 6, 2023, the board awarded Unified Field Services Corporation, or Unified, a construction agreement for $1,987,829 on September 6th. This divided up into $1.75 million for Coronado Hills tank and $235,000 for Richland 1 tank. An amendment for Harper was awarded for specialty inspection services in the amount of $141,570 for both projects. An itemization of specialty inspection services is outlined on page 151 of your board packet. This includes cathodic protection specialty inspection services as well. Staff did self-perform project management, construction management, inspection services, and coordinated tank shutdowns with water operations throughout construction. Construction began in January, and it received substantial completion in November. The Coronado Hills Tank project had 3 change orders for district-initiated modifications, including a second access way, center column support sleeve, and a fall restraint system. This resulted in an increase to the contract amount of $19,688, or 1.1% of the original contract value. After inspection, 5 girder replacements and other items were removed from the scope of work, and this reduced the original contract amount by $171,225. A delay in contract time of work resulted in a deduction of just over $35,000. Similarly, for the Richland 1 tank project, had 2 change orders, which were also district initiated for fall restraint system modifications and exterior pipe mortar coatings. This resulted in an increase to the contract amount of $8,338, or 3.5% of the original contract total. Another delay in contract time of work resulted in a deduction of approximately $5,000. Projects are identified separately in the fiscal year 24-25 budget with a total amount of $2.645 million. Funding for the projects was provided entirely from water replacement funds, and the fiscal impact of both projects is itemized on pages 151 and 152 of your board packet. With the completion of work between Unified, Harper, staff labor, and overhead, the total project expenditure is $2,239,280. Coronado Hills tank, there was a total surplus on the job, and the way that divided out between both projects was that Coronado Hills tank resulted in a total budget surplus of nearly $400,000, just shy of $400,000. And the Richland 1 tank project results in a budget surplus of just under $9,000. The project directly supports the district's strategic plan, specifically Strategic Focus Area 1 on infrastructure integrity. The project extends each asset life by roughly 20 years and ensures the district's infrastructure is properly maintained and repaired. With this, staff recommends project acceptance and authorizing the general manager to file a notice of completion, release of retention funds, and following the 60-day notice period in conformance with the contract documents. And at this point in time, I can take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. Any questions? Yeah.
Congratulations on coming in under budget or having a surplus. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you. It sounds like, given the comment that I made at the last, with the last presentation, when we kick the can down the road, we run the risk of catastrophic failure of our infrastructure, and we don't want to do that. So while this sounds like a lot of money to, you know, to refurbish a tank, it is the case that we need to be keeping track of these things and doing them all along rather than putting them off, because we will experience catastrophic failure. And maybe with this budget surplus, we can apply some of it to, to our insurance premium. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? If not, may I have a motion to accept the Coronado Hills and Richland 1 tank refurbishment projects and authorize the general manager to file a notice of completion and release of retention of funds to the contractor following the 60-day notice period, provided no claims are filed in conformance with the contract documents. May I have a motion? I can motion to approve.
I'll second.
This is motion by me, second by Director Boyd Hodgins. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
And I'm assuming you're going on to 2-4 as well?
Yes.
2-4. 2-5. Yeah. Project acceptance for the 16-inch emergency bypass and 12-inch fail-safe pipeline project. You want to set that up, GM Gumpel, or?
I think they're ready, but this is another project acceptance, but this one's one of our critical infrastructures that allows us to bypass sewer that normally goes to Meadowlark to our land outfall, which takes that sewer to Encina, which, as you know, as the board knows, Vallecitos is a partial owner of that Encina plant. So with that, I'll hand it over to Capital Facilities Senior Engineer Ryan Morgan.
All right, thank you again, GM Gumpel. I just want to start by saying this project was a little more complicated than the previous acceptance item, and that also the improvements are actually in service today, and it's facilitating it represents really a major milestone for the ongoing Meadowlark water reclamation facility plant expansion that's happening at the CCT and conversion of sodium hypochlorite. So this project was really instrumental in timing of allowing that project to proceed. The 16-inch emergency bypass outfall was originally constructed in 1969. It is a critical infrastructure asset to the district. It had 3 failures in recent history, which totaled approximately $190,000 in emergency repair and regulatory fines of approximately $67,000 from the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board. This was due to sewer spills, which resulted from the breaks. Due to that, the line was considered to be inoperable since 2019 and had not been used until just recently. The project alignment shown on the exhibit in front of you originates off Rancho Santa Fe Road. The brown or tan line that you see is the emergency bypass 16-inch outfall. It traverses this open space area through district easements behind this development. The topography of this alignment is challenging, specifically between Carrillo Way and Melrose right here. It's on a very steep embankment. It's in an environmentally sensitive area. So the project had several challenges, and so staff identified these challenges in an in-house planning study that was performed. It was determined that a scale of economy savings potential was available to include the rehabilitation of the parallel 12-inch Meadowlark fail-safe outfall, which is the green line, just parallel of it, of the brown line. And the fail-safe outfall, the 12-inch line, was installed in the 1980s, and this line conveys tertiary treated water from Meadowlark to the ocean outfall. Fail-safe, similar to the emergency bypass, has a repeat history of breaks. There are sections of ductile iron pipe which were removed in a 2018 break near Palmo Oaks Way that are shown on page 156 of your board packet. The ductile iron pipe was noticed to be severely corroded. That corrosion was documented as originating from the outside of the pipe in. And it also should be noted that downstream of this project corridor is the fail-safe Buena Reach, a project which also recently has wrapped up, has not come to the board yet for acceptance, but will be in February. And so that is a critical project and infrastructure asset to repair, not just in this section or reach, but in downstream reaches as well. The board's familiarity with this project is taking action during past project milestones, including professional services agreement award to Adura in March of 2021. It's for engineering design services, CEQA adoption of resolution certifying a mitigated negative declaration on in March of 2022. Professional services agreement award to Vallecitos for construction management and inspection services, and a construction agreement award to Burtech Pipeline in September of 2022. Additionally, in April of this year, a construction agreement was awarded to In Situ Form to complete the project work. The majority of proposed improvements were installed by the end of 2023. The work remaining consisted of trenchless rehab of approximately 1,000 feet of pressurized segment of cured-in-place pipe of the emergency bypass, and that was specifically between Carrillo Way and Melrose right here. This is 1,000-foot segment. This was the last piece of improvements that needed to be made before the project could be accepted. Although the original contractor, Burtech's contract, included this segment, upon cleaning and inspection in November of 2023, Burtech had informed the district that they observed a change condition that would impact the agreement, and they would not honor a pressure test and warranty for the pressure liner in this segment. This was contrary to the terms of the contract documents. These conditions were unsatisfactory to the district, and after significant coordination with Burtech, both parties agreed to remove this work from the contract, which resulted in a deductive change order credit of $291,000. Staff at the time, in search of a solution to finish the project, worked with their construction manager to solicit qualified pressure lining manufacturer and certified local installer to determine if the pipeline could be rehabilitated using a pressure CIPP system. In Situ Form Technologies, with past project success working here at the district, evaluated this condition and determined that the work could be successfully completed per the contract requirements, including the pressure test and warranty. In April, the board awarded In Situ Form Technologies a construction agreement in the amount of $670,000 for the remaining 1,000-foot segment. The delay involved in coordinating this portion of the contract work required amending an existing task order with Recon Environmental to provide an extension of existing or current biological monitoring field services and a time and materials not to exceed fee of $36,399. In Situ Form began work in June and completed work just recently on November 19th. One change order was authorized for reinstating the emergency bypass pipeline into service after initial cleaning and inspection, sampling and lab testing of the new liner, removal and replacement of existing piping at the access points, additional construction grading to facilitate access, removal of unforeseen concrete thrust blocks, and hydraulic pressure testing of the new work. This resulted in an increase to the original contract amount of $63,330, or 9.4% of the original In Situ Form contract. Burtech, the original contractor, began work in December 2022. 4 change orders were authorized for unforeseen rock excavation, biological monitoring, noise reduction measures, installation of a 6-inch blow-off, and the deduction credits for uninstalled liners. This resulted in a deductive change credit to the original contract amount of $10,751, or 0.6% of the original contract amount. The total amount of project change orders, including both construction agreements, totaled $74,081, which represents 3.1% of the sum of the original contract amounts. The project is identified in the fiscal year 24-25 budget with a total amount of $3.39 million. Funding for the projects is provided entirely from sewer replacement funds. The fiscal impact is itemized on page 157 with the completion of work between Burtech and Situ Form Vallecitos, Adura, Recon Environmental, staff labor, and overhead. The total project expenditure is $3,589,624, resulting in a budget deficit of $215,000. Project directly supports the district's strategic plan, specifically Strategic Focus Area 1, Infrastructure Integrity. The project extends the asset lifespan by 50 years and ensures the district infrastructure is properly maintained and repaired. It is with this, staff recommends, first, increasing the project budget by $215,000, and second, project acceptance and authorizing the general manager to file a notice of completion and release retention of funds to the contractor. Following the 60-day notice period, providing no claims are filed in conformance with the contract documents. With that, I can take any questions you have.
Whew.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving
It's a mouthful.
parts.
I'd
You're
like
not
to,
selling
It's a
insurance, are
story
you?
to tell.
Yes.
I just have to add one thing. So one of the things that the district staff did, and I was in the room when this happened, is because of the main breaks, because of the aegis pipe and the sewer spills, the regional board fines were going to be a lot higher. So one of the things the staff did is negotiate the regional board, and one of the outcomes of it is commitment to replacing this line, which reduced the amount of fines from the regional board. So the commitment of this line was not only because it is past its useful age, it was, you know, for lack of better terms, Swiss cheese in certain areas, but also a commitment to the regional board, which helped reduce the amount of fines that we received.
Thank you. Length of the line again, 1,000 feet you said, or is that just the one?
1,000
portion?
feet was the second construction agreement for in situ form, but in total, it was over 4,000 feet.
Okay.
It's about a mile.
Questions? No questions? Wow, good job, Brian.
I just have a comment. So this is a really complicated project with a lot of different things. You got a environmentally sensitive area in addition to this pipe that was Swiss cheese that you're trying to replace. $215,000, that's like 7% of the total budget, right? Because it's probably less than that.
It ended up being just over 3% of the combined total of both
Right, so
construction
I
agreements.
mean, I look at that as a win, so
Thank you.
good job, thank you.
Well said. Anything? Okay. So, District Legal, you've been quiet over there. Do I need to read this whole thing again? Just as a recommendation?
You can ask for a motion for staff recommendation and it'll be
Motion for
fine.
staff recommendation. I got a first by Director Hernandez, second.
Second.
Second by Director Kirschbaum. All vote. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's good going forward. I know I don't have to read those long ones. I can just say, as recommended by staff.
It's only when a board member wants to be creative with a motion or do something different that we need more express direction.
Okay, thank you.
President Penick, I do want to point out that the previous president was able to read the long engineering. She took it as a challenge, so it's up to you whether you want to take that gavel and continue
I told
or
you when I
not.
presented, we have different qualities, and she has qualities that I just do not possess. And I recognize those and appreciate those. Thank you so much. Moving on to item 2.6, board committee appointments and representatives. This will be a fast, easy one.
Yeah, so I'll hand this right over to you, but before I do, this is the annual transition after the orderly board transition of officers. The president of the board, per our ordinance, goes ahead and puts the slate forward for board consideration for committee and appointments.
Okay. So with that on there, I can take it from here, I guess. First of all, thank you. I had good conversations with each of you. And after discussion, and just preface this by saying, I appreciate the district and all they do to be efficient in all that they do. I really am against just having meetings to have a meeting. I really want to, let's talk about it, let's get it done and move on. So after talking with all of you, I hope I was being equitable. I wanted to be fair, equitable, try and, respond to your requests. And so based on that, I have recommended these appointments to standing committees and board-appointed representatives. And I can open it up. You can review that quickly, and I can open it up for discussion and/or review, or I can take a motion to approve right now. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Move to approve.
I've got a motion by Director Hernandez to approve the committees as represented here.
I'll second that.
A second by Director Elitharp. Any discussion? We'll take a vote. Wow, passes 5 green and 0 red. Thank you so much.
President Penick, if you don't mind, if there's an extra copy, I'd like to give a copy to.
Should be, I passed it. Anybody else want one? I've got some.
I just need one here.
Thank you so much. Are there any words?
One more item. So
Yes.
for the water authority seating, since the water authority requires a resolution. So our next board meeting in January, we'll be putting a resolution forward for Director Boyd Hodgson for the water authority representative for Vallecitos Water District. And then upon that, then the water authority just requires you to swear in. And until then, Director Eltharp will remain the representation for Vallecitos.
Got it? Good. So noted.
Thank you, Director Ellithorpe, for all of your time served at County Water Authority.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Yes. Echo those comments. Thank you. How long has it been?
4 years.
4 years. And my understanding is, what's, once a month, 8-hour meetings?
At least.
At least, okay. So if you need some help picking kids up from school or something like that, just reach out. We'll help you out, Director Boyd Hodgson. And with that, moving on to reports. General Manager.
Yes, I want to just keep it short tonight. First, I want to wish the board happy holidays and a safe and happy new year. Our January 1st meeting, which is scheduled to be on 1/1, is going to be canceled. I won't have any staff here for that. So, and we'll pick back up on January 15th. Also, I've been working with Jennifer now that we have the slate. We'll put together a schedule, an annual schedule that shows all board meetings and committee meetings for all board members. It'll be available online, but we'll also email it to you. And with that, we'll also be putting together in the calendar all the normal conferences. It doesn't mean it's every conference, just the normal industry conferences. And you could see where they may or may not interfere with either a committee meeting or a board meeting for the year. I'll request that the board, if you're interested, just let us know. It's not a firm commitment. Obviously, as the conferences come up, we'll come out and double check, but I want to start getting an idea of what conferences and how it lays out, not only for the board, but also for staff. So I'm hoping to get that out early next week now that we have the committee slate to all board members. Then really that's it. So if that, Happy New Year and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you. Appreciate that. District Legal Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report. I'll just wish everyone a happy holidays and say it was nice to see you all.
Thank you. It's good to see you too. It's good to see you every once in a while instead of Jim. San Diego County Water Authority, you want your last report?
I have no report today.
No report from the San Diego County Water
But
Authority.
I will also wish everyone a happy holidays.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Encino Wastewater Authority.
Yes, we had our board meeting this morning, and as the chair of my last meeting, there was a nice presentation. The Senate gave me a resolution, what a great guy I am, and how I did such a wonderful thing. I accepted. I also acknowledge what a great board I have. Director Pennick is on that board, and the staff, which is equally as good as we have in Encina. Let's see, we also had the election of officers for president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. And then we had the annual comprehensive financial report given. And then we went to executive session, came out of executive session, and we had a resolution approving our general manager's request for employment and advancement. And our next meeting will be next month. I don't know what the date is. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Director Hernandez. Appreciate that. Standing committees. Any standing committees meet? Nope, no standing committee. Director's reports on meetings, conferences, seminars attended. Any report? None. Any other business? If not, yes.
Happy holidays, everyone. Happy New Year. Have a safe time and a joyful time with your family. It's been a great year.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other comments? And as we noted, if you noticed, one of the board standing committees is a P3 committee, and I know you've been on that for 4 years, I believe, and so thank you. You've got it moving in a really, really good direction, and so Director Kirschbaum and myself will try and keep that momentum going. Thank you. And I too would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you. And with that, meeting adjourned.